Welcome back, everybody. Sheepdog Smokey here, and this is something you could only expect from a liberal college, or unfortunately coming up everywhere now. Texas State Student Senate votes on resolution banning police from campus. Texas State University's Student Senate recently held an emergency meeting to vote on a resolution calling on the school to ban its police department. The resolution was authored by one student senator who was arrested last week during an incident on campus involving the assault of a student wearing a Make America Great Again hat, but appears to have not passed a student senate vote. Texas State University student senator Claudia Gasponi, who authored a resolution last month to ban the school's Turning Point USA group from campus, has now authored a new resolution to ban the university police from campus. The resolution was drafted following the student senator's arrest last week, along with three other students, during a counter-protest gone haywire. The proposed legislation, entitled The Removal of Excessive and Abusive Policing Resolution, calls for the dissolution of the university police department due to the alleged over-policing on campus that specifically targets and endangers people of color. Texas State University's student population is mostly people of color, states the resolution obtained by Breitbart News. And in order to be truly inclusive, the needs of people of color must be set as a priority, not an afterthought, especially in an institution that historically has disenfranchised people of color. I am not retaliating because I was arrested. I am retaliating because I was violently assaulted, and I saw several of my friends get violently assaulted, said Gasponi at the emergency meeting on Wednesday. The student senator had referred to her arrest as an assault. I know that the university police department hasn't done jack to correct these assaults that are happening, continued Gasponi. So, I wrote this resolution not because I'm upset that I got arrested. I'm upset that we have a violent group on campus that is mandated and paid for by our administration to do the administration's bidding. The student senator went on to claim that while racism and homophobia and transphobia in our university police department is a huge problem, there are still bigger issues at hand, such as the administration supposedly using the police department to terrorize the students on campus. Dissolving UPD is like so beneficial to disempowering our administration, said Gasponi. They're using UPD like a gun pointed at our face so that we stay in line and don't remove white supremacy. People say, you should feel safe with police on campus. No, added the student senator. As a person of color, fundamentally, no. That's not what police were created for. That's not what police have done ever in their lives. Policing, in and of itself, is corrupt, like the creation of the police. The resolution had also accused the police department of using their discretion in favor of white supremacists, adding that the department had not properly trained its officers in de-escalation, LGBTQIA+ sensitivity, disability sensitivity, and racial sensitivity. University police has a history of using excessive force against students, states the resolution, and therefore the Texas State University Senate calls for the dissolution of the University Police Department. The resolution, which appeared to have been struck down in a vote by the student government, was authored by Gasponi following her arrest during a counter-protest that had gotten out of control after a protester assaulted a student wearing a Make America Great Again hat. The student senator faces charges for resisting arrest and search or transportation interference with public duties. Last month, Gasponi authored and championed a student government resolution to ban the school's Turning Point USA chapter, claiming that the move to censor the conservative group was actually in protection of freedom of speech. This is something that you would normally expect in socialist Venezuela or Soviet Russia, communist Cuba. We have a student who is literally saying that police, by their very existence, are a terrorist force. They are there to help white supremacy. And she calls her arrest, which appears to, from all I've read, and I've looked at a few other sources, actually be warranted, as she was resisting arrest. I wonder what she would say about the Dallas Police Department protecting a group of African Americans with the officers, while they were doing this, being shot at because someone didn't want them to be there at all. I wonder what she would say about the officers ritualistically executed in New York State, or the officer gunned down by an illegal immigrant who later in court smiled and said he wished he could have killed more. You see, that uniform and badge they put on is a target on their back. Meanwhile, they do what they can to enforce the law. You see, it is against the law to assault someone. It is against the law to riot. It is against the law to do many things, and the police enforce the law. But unfortunately, we have the Democrats in Congress currently championing the same attitude of, I don't like this law, so we'll get rid of the people enforcing it. For 8 years, senators like Kamala Harris or Bernie Sanders or any number of them had no problem with the Obama administration doing whatever they wanted in the enforcement of border security law. But as soon as Donald Trump was inaugurated, all border laws were to be ignored. They're doing it even now with Attorney General Barr, who has made the Mueller report public, 98 or 92% of it unredacted. There is also a minimally redacted version, which is only 2% redacted, that 2% being grand jury information, which by law not even Congress can see without a court order. None of them have gone to view that report. Meanwhile, Senator Warren, of course, claims to have read the entire thing and just knows that they're hiding something. But no member of the House Judiciary has gone to view it. They don't want to, because if they read it, they wouldn't be able to honestly say, I know you're hiding something, and I want you to come tell me what's in it. They demand Mueller, they demand Barr, and everyone else come and testify and answer harassing questions from their staffers, something that I know of in history has never happened, to my knowledge. This is just the next generation. The generation that says, I was arrested while I was rioting, so of course that's an assault on my person. But trying to ban people who disagree with you is protecting free speech. No, it's protecting your speech, which is hateful and violent against all who disagree with you. Honestly, a government teacher should have been in that meeting and said, Miss Gasponi, sit down. I'm going to explain the finer points of the Constitution. You see, freedom of speech is a right every American citizen has. And Turning Point USA is not advocating violence, hatred, bigotry, racism, anything. They are a conservative group that has broken no bylaws of the school, no rules of the school, no laws of the state or this country. Therefore, your attempt to censor them is unconstitutional. When Ms. Gasponi would, of course, have retaliated by saying, you're just an agent of white supremacy, Gasponi should have been told, you are ejected from this body. Honestly, the administration should tell any student trying to remove campus police, you are not allowed on campus anymore. Whatever is available to be refunded to you for the semester will be. Your books will be bought back. Best of luck in whatever endeavor you take next. But unfortunately, we have students who have been raised watching idiot colleges like UCLA do what they're trying to do now. UC Berkeley's police were told not to respond as people were being assaulted and the campus destroyed by people upset that a private group holding a private meeting they were not invited to had invited someone they did not like. We actually now have an entire population of the country that firmly believes it is their right to say, I don't like your group, you disagree with me, so you must only invite people I like who will tell you what horrible people you are. They go to public events harassing and haranguing anyone they want, screaming to prevent people from speaking. And then when they try to disbar or remove any form of authority that tells them you cannot do this and fail, they cry as if they've just had their entire life taken away from them. I personally will not be surprised if Gasponi later is published in some liberal outlet as decrying the rampant white supremacy and racism of Texas state, as they will not acquiesce to her simple request to remove a racist terrorist force from their campus. And when anyone points out it's the police department who keep you from being raped or assaulted or murdered, Gasponi will of course say, well, no, they wouldn't do that. They hate people of color. I honestly don't know what it's going to take to convince people that their idiocy is in fact idiocy. Yes, as with any career force or career option, there are bad apples. There are bad apples in police departments, fire departments, janitorial departments, teachers, car manufacturers, photographers, ministers, IT support, retail, food service. I could go on. If I knew every industry that was around in this country, there will always be bad apples and bad actors. But the bad actors and bad apples are not the entirety of that industry. You see, I would bet 98.5 to 99 or more percent of police are just good people doing their jobs, trying to help and serve their community. I worked as a law enforcement official for a year as a county jailer in my local area, and I can tell you, I saw some bad actors, and they were quickly and not too quietly released. I worked as a firefighter, and the bad actors in my area were the lazies, the ones who didn't come to training and wouldn't really do anything. They just wanted to be able to say, I was a fireman. And that's it. And they're quickly and not too quietly asked to leave the department. Unfortunately, none of this will be good enough for any of these entitled little snowflakes. I wish they could objectively look at cities like New York or London, where you now have civilian Muslim forces painting cars to look like local police cars and buying uniforms that look like the local uniforms, even wearing badges, and enforcing Sharia law in a non Sharia country. That is, as far as I know, under federal United States law, illegal. Impersonating an officer will get you jail time. But of course, de Blasio and Cuomo won't do a thing about it because they pander to the Muslim community because they don't want to be seen as Islamophobic by enforcing U.S. law. It's going to come to a head, and it's not going to be pretty. And unfortunately, we may soon see video of someone violently assaulting another student who is a conservative, possibly even to the point of almost killing them, and then have them sue the police department for denying their right to free speech or denying them their right to self-protection from hate speech. Because we actually have people who believe that my saying I am pro-life or I am pro-Trump or I want the border secured is the same as them trying to assault me. Now, I'm not a little guy. I do have some instruction in martial arts as well as other physical forms of self-defense. I can say if you come at me trying to assault me or worse, I can stand my ground. But when you have a society where someone believes it's perfectly okay as a very physically fit younger man to assault an 85-year-old man and be heard saying, "Stay down, old man." And I heard this earlier today. If you listen to the news, it was talking about the Carolina student who assaulted someone. They talked about this. They have no problem assaulting the elderly. And then that is, of course, because they see examples like the coward, I believe Brian Sims, it may be a different name, out in Pennsylvania, publicly harassing an elderly woman and offering money to expose personal information about teenagers. We have to get a handle on this. And unfortunately, the handle is going to have to be jail time for people who believe it is their right to beat the tar out of people. And it will needs to be expulsion in situations like this. This should have had the student expelled. But, of course, Texas State, being one of the more liberal colleges, will just pander to her. Unfortunately, I'm already starting to see some of the more conservative colleges, like my beloved Texas A&M, that are starting to hear whispers of things like this as well. And the day you see an institution like Texas A&M fall to this crap, the country's done for. But I've talked long enough. Let me know what you think. As always, keep it civil. We do not learn from argument, we learn from debate. Please also remember to like, share, and comment on this video, as well as to subscribe and turn on notifications so that you are the most up-to-date as content is posted. Until next time, everyone have a wonderful day.